So I'd like to go ahead and introduce our next speaker, who was a member of the Holmes Scholars Program, is a very active member while she was a doctoral student at UNLV. And now she is started her academic career, which I'd like for her to talk about. So I'm going to introduce to you Dr. Monique Matute.
Yes. Okay. All right. Good morning. It's a great honor to be here to present with you all and to share my experience as a Holmes scholar at UNLV, and also just the experiences I had as a doctoral student in the special education department. So today I will be presenting on positioning yourself for a PhD program and student voice. I will be integrating my personal experience and plus tools and strategies that I recommend you all take. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box or jot them down, and I can address them at the end of the presentation. Okay. All right, so the agenda, I'll be going over my positionality, journey as a Holmes scholarship, a mentorship, overcoming obstacles, and then I will leave you all with some words of wisdom. So my name is Monique. I am originally from Riverside, California. I moved to Las Vegas after I graduated from high school in 2001. I'm a twin, so my twin and I moved to Vegas. My parents wanted us to become independent and attend a school out of state. So we lived in the dorms at UNLV. Our first year, I received my bachelor's in 2006. And it took me 5 years and I was kind of burnt out. So I was done with school at that point, and I got a job working with the Department of Homeland Security. I got married, moved to Japan, and then came back to Las Vegas and started working with the state when I decided to pursue my master's degree in early childhood special education in 2010. I graduated with my master's in 2012 and really wanted to go for a PhD, but I was really burnt out again at that time. So I decided to get some experience in the field. And so I worked with the state of Nevada Early Intervention Services for a couple of years. Priscilla and I actually worked there together as developmental specialists. We shared an office together. There I served families and children with disabilities, birth to 3. I primarily served the North Las Vegas region, East region. I'm bilingual, so I worked with a lot of families that were Spanish speaking. From there, I worked in the field, and then I realized I really wanted to pursue my PhD, and I applied to the program at UNLV, and I was accepted, and I started the PhD program in 2016. From there, I entered academia, and I am now currently an assistant professor of special education at New Mexico State University, which is located in Las Cruces, New Mexico. It's on the borderlands. We border El Paso, Texas, so I'm about 30 minutes from Juarez, Mexico. My why, I also challenge you all to take notes today and really jot down on a piece of paper your why. Why are you pursuing a PhD at UNLV? My why, it was always important to me to have this close to me at my desk as I was in the program, to really stay engaged and persistent and reflect on the purpose of why I'm attaining this PhD. And my why was because in the field, as I was working with Nevada Early Intervention Services, I worked with a lot of families from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. And as I worked with them, I provided them several resources. And as their child turned 3, they had to transition out of Nevada Early Intervention Services, which is a family-centered, whereas when they go into the school district, it's more child-directed. And so when I would attend transition meetings with Clark County School District, I could see the barriers and the challenges and just the number of inequities that they experience during these meetings and the IEP meetings. And then as well as my lived experience, my son, he's currently 11. He is a Black boy with autism. And as a mother, I experienced several inequities navigating the special education system in Las Vegas with him. So both my professional and lived experience is led me to the PhD program, because I wanted to really do research around families of culturally linguistically diverse backgrounds to really change the experiences they have navigating the special education system. Okay, the 4-year plan. For this slide, the question I'm gonna answer is, how do you position yourself as a student of color for success in a PhD program? So these were all the tools I used to really position myself as a student of color to really be successful and to attain the goals I wanted. So as I entered the doc program, I created a kind of a map of a 4-year plan that I wanted to accomplish each year to check off. My department requires us to meet certain competencies each semester and year. My chair had me complete a progress report each year with outlining the competencies, what I accomplished, and my goals for the upcoming year. So this really helped me as well map out my personal goals. So I took it upon myself to use the progress report as a 4-year plan that embedded my personal goals that I wanted to accomplish each year. And I also knew as a Black woman that my experience would be different from my white colleagues. When I entered the program, I was the only Black doctoral student in my courses. So I really wanted to make sure that I was competitive because I know I would experience different barriers than they did as I progressed in the program, and also to attain a job once I attained the PhD. So my goals were looking at my academic goals, publications, how many presentations I wanted to complete by my 4th year in teaching. And so what I did in my department, all the faculty are really great. So I held meetings with probably about 3 to 4 different faculty members and really asked them how many conferences, what were their recommendations, things like that. And I had the opportunity to actually work as a graduate research assistant my first year, and the assistant professor I worked with, she had just graduated with her PhD in special education at the University of Florida, which is an R1 institution, number 3 in my field. So she was really competitive. Her research interests were really intriguing, and she really guided me with, what to expect in 4 years and how I can really make myself marketable. So it's really important that you are successful in all your classes. And I recall a lot of my peers had goals of, I want to get straight A's, I want to get straight A's. But it's great to do great in your classes, but if you get a B, that's okay, as long as you really retain the content, because you're not going to get a job just because you have a 4.0 GPA. You really need to develop a robust CV. And so then I looked at publications. How many publications do I need? How many publications do I need to really be successful? The Holmes Scholar, I forgot to speak about my Holmes Scholar. So I was a Holmes Scholar at UNLV my first 3 years. So I entered the program my first year, which was great because at that time we had a coordinator, and he coordinated several meetings that semester with different faculty from different departments in the College of Ed. And they really provided us with great mentorship and skills on how to position ourselves to be successful in the PhD program, attend conferences, publications. So that also assisted me with developing my personal goals and my 4-year plan. So I developed a goal of publications. I told myself that I wanted to graduate with 3 publications. And I also wanted to present 25 times at different conferences in different formats, poster presentations, roundtables, and lectures and beyond panels. And then teaching, I really wanted to make sure that I taught a variety of classes. I really didn't have a choice, but my department really gave me the opportunity to teach online and different courses as well. And I really wanted to develop my teaching philosophy because I knew that was important, and learn different formats and technology to embed within my courses. My first year also, I did a lot of self-reflection. I believe self-reflection is really important. So I remember talking to my chair at the time about my weaknesses and my strengths. And I realized my weaknesses were presentations and writing. So going into the doc program, the academic writing is a lot different. So those were the 2 things that I knew I needed to work on to be successful. And so I remember my mentor telling me, well, if you want to work on writing, the only way to get better is to read and write. And so that was my goal. And so that's what I did to work on presenting as well, was to really, that's why my goal was so high with presentations, because I really wanted to work on my presentation skills. I'm very timid. And so being out in conferences and networking, I believed would really help me with that. And then also, it's really important as a doc student when you enter to really figure out what you want to do once you attain your PhD, if that's to go into academia, or if you want to stay in K through 12 or private or policy, because that will really help shape your plan, your goals, what you really need to accomplish during your PhD program in order to attain that job to really be competitive. And I knew when I entered, I wanted to go into academia. So that was my goal. And that was why I kind of set my standards pretty high for myself so that I can ensure I was competitive. All right, keys to success. These were the keys to my success in the doc program. As a single mother, I had to really ensure that I established a routine with my workload, my goals, and then my personal responsibilities at home. Time management is really key. If you really don't create this at the beginning, you will really struggle because you can't really procrastinate. It will really show in your assignments, your research proposals, and it will really put a damper on you once you get to the dissertation process. And also, it's really important to get this really on lockdown as well if you want to go into academia, because once you become a faculty member, it's really crucial that you have a routine and a system set to be successful, because it's a totally different world. I would really like to emphasize to establish that system as well, because during the doc program, you will experience life, different challenges as well. And once you have the system, it will be really easier to navigate those challenges as well, which I'll speak a little bit further in the presentation about. Another key factor to my success was mentorship and networking. I really never had a mentor until I entered the doc program. So I really didn't know what to look for, what a good mentor was. And so what I really looked for is I wanted someone that aligns with my research interest and was really successful, and that could also relate to me. So I strategically sought out my mentor. I went through my entire department and really read their bios. And I recall setting a meeting with her, and she was my interim chair at the time, because my department, I'm not sure if all departments are like this, but we are assigned an interim chair. So she was actually assigned my interim chair. So I was really excited about that, because I had really looked at her interest before I applied for the doc program. And I recall sitting with her, and she gave me paperwork and said, okay, well, let me know when you want to decide on your committee and who you would like your chair to be. And I said, I want you. And she started laughing, because I was so, adamant at the beginning. And we developed a really good working relationship. And she provided me with great insight from the beginning. I discussed my strengths, my weaknesses, what I really wanted to do in the program. And I recall her telling me my first semester, attend a conference in your field or another field. And so I attended my first conference, my first semester in November. I did not present, but it was eye-opening, and it really helped with my my fear of presenting at a conference. It was really life-changing to see different faculty and doc students. So that really also helped me prepare for my first presentation as a doc student. So I would highly encourage you all to look for conferences in your area to attend, and also try to see if you could get funding to attend those. Another key to my success was collaborating with doc students and home scholars across different institutions. So I always tried to collaborate with a lot of doc students in my department. Unfortunately, a lot that entered with me really did not go into academia, so a lot didn't really want to publish within my department. They wanted to present a presentation. So I did collaborate with some to present at some of our national conferences, but it's really hard to find somebody to write with in my department. So as a home scholar, when I went to conferences, it was really great to network with other doc students. And there I met some doc students at VCU, actually, that I was able to present with and that I now write with as well. Okay, culture shock. So how do you work around obstacles? And then how do you work around obstacles if you encounter them? So coming into the doc program, I was so intrigued, so inspired to come in. And, I believed everyone would have the same mindset that I had. We're going to change the world, social justice, equity for all students. And so I recall going into the doc program and just experiencing several microaggressions from my peers. And I'm a passive person, quite naive as well. And so I had a lot to learn. I really didn't know how to navigate those situations. And so I recall, talking with my chair and another student, and they said, you really need to start speaking up, because if not, you're going to be swallowed in academia. And so that was really, really difficult. And, I just recall a lot of my peers saying, why do you work so hard, Monique? You're trying to go to Harvard. And, and I'm just like, no, I really want to get a job. And I know my experience is going to be different from yours. And I'm going to have a ton of different barriers, to overcome. And I quite got that question like all the time. I mean, almost on a daily basis when I went into the office, because I was constantly, doing coursework, and I took on a lot of leadership roles and different things like that. So that was quite shocking. So I really had to learn how to navigate, comments like that, and, microaggressions in class. I recall in one of our classes, Dr. Morgan had us read Bell Hooks, Teaching to Transgress. And when we had dialogue, some of the students were just so belligerent. And I'm just like, oh my God. And they're going to go into academia. They're teaching my child, And so that was quite shocking to me because I'm like, how can someone so educated, but again, naive, say things like this? And so I recall, talking to my chair and another peer about it. And what I love about my the department at UNLV in early child multilingual special education, the faculty are very diverse. And I had, brought up these concerns, and they actually held a doc colloquium regarding microaggressions. And now I believe there's a diversity course in the doc program. So these issues were addressed. So it's really great to have that support and be able to talk about, these things that you will experience as a student of color. So this really helped me as well because as I transition now to this position as assistant professor, the microaggressions don't go away. So it's really good to take on all these experiences and really learn from them to really make yourself stronger and kind of get thick skin. Like now I have thick skin. So you just have to really learn how to really navigate these and stay professional and stay true to yourself. This is another slide where I'm talking about, it's preceding what I just spoke about conquering obstacles. So the resources are super important when you're going to the doc program on conquering obstacles, because you never know what's going to happen, what life's going to throw at you. During my doc program, I almost lost my mom twice. I believe it was my third year, going into my third year, my mom had knee surgery and she had blood clots, and they were massive. And by the grace of God, she survived them. And the doctors were surprised because they said nobody ever survives those. And so I was totally broken at that point. I didn't know if I could continue, what I could do. And Priscilla and I are really close. And I remember her calling me and telling me, you can do it, just stay strong, take a break. So I took a few days off, but I had tons of work to do and things like that. And so I really relied on resources and networks to get me through those times. If it wasn't for that, I don't know if I would have had to take a break or what would have happened. So really utilize your networks. It's so important to network with peers and faculty that can really support you, because you will experience different challenges if it's regarding your family, school, work, or just life in general. Resources. I utilized several resources during my doc program at UNLV. As a student, it's so important. You pay a lot of tuition. So really utilize everything that is offered to you. The graduate college always offers different workshops that you can attend for, mental health, wellness, how to build a CV, how to prepare for a job. I literally attended so many workshops, professional development, because I knew I wanted to take up as much knowledge and learn as much as I could to be successful. I remember attending 2 to 3 IRB workshops, asking questions. And then when it came, because my goal was, I do not want to have revisions when I submit my IRB. So I attended, met with the director and asked questions at the end of the workshop. And when I submitted my IRB, I had no revisions. And that was my goal, because the IRB process at UNLV it was very long at the time when I was starting my dissertation. So I was quite proud of myself. And I remember my chair was really proud too, but I really put in the work prior. So it's really important to put in the work prior, because it will really help you once you have to do the work. And then I also utilized the writing center as well. And I remember again in my program, some of my peers, the microaggressions, oh, you go to the writing center, you must not be able to write. And so I went to the writing center all 4 years, and I finally found someone that I could really connect with there. So I went 2 to 3 times a week, and it wasn't to review my work. It was to really discuss ideas, because I was able, just with him not being in my background, I was able to bounce ideas off of him and really create some cool projects, cool ideas. And then also when I developed my manuscript, I would take it, and it really helped me learn how to edit my work, and really learn how to get around passive voice, because passive voice was the death of me. But now I'm happy to say I'm able to, recognize it and work through those. But if I didn't utilize those tools that were offered to me, I would be really in a hard point right now with writing. Writing still isn't easy, but I mean, I gained a lot of tools that I'm able to use now. Communication. Communication is really important. I developed great communication with my chair, faculty, really being comfortable. Always remember, closed mouths don't get fed. So if you can't voice your concerns, and nobody can really assist you or help you. So make sure that you develop some type of communication with one of your faculty mentors or different faculty. And it's also important to network with faculty in your department and outside. I had Dr. Jackson in what department is that? TNL, I think. She was one of my mentors. I took an independent study with her one summer, and I would set meetings with her. I think I probably met with her a couple of times, and just communicated with her about her experience, because she was a new assistant professor as well. So it's just really important to communicate with a lot of folks across campus, everywhere. I remember students, when I would walk with them, they're like, wow, you know everybody. But I would attend so many workshops. And so that was my goal, to really learn from a variety of faculty at UNLV. And then the last one, therapy. This is so taboo to a lot of people. But I knew the challenges I experienced with my mom being sick, almost losing her twice, a single mother, just the challenges, and then going into the dissertation phase. I signed up for therapy at UNLV. So I went to therapy at the Wellness Center, start of the first semester of my last year. And that was just to really help me. I knew I needed to talk to somebody that, I didn't have any connection to. And so that was really life-saving, because I was able to talk about, the stress I had going into the dissertation phase, and the struggles with my mom being sick, and then my son applying for tenure track positions. It was just a lot. And I knew I didn't want to have a breakdown, because I've seen a lot of people really struggle. And I think I failed to mention, prior to the summer prior to my dissertation phase, I actually had to take 2 incompletes because of my mom being sick. It took a toll on me. So I remember my professor, he told me, you have to take a incomplete Matute, because I just could not get this proposal together. I kept trying and I just could not, because I could not focus. And then I had to start my dissertation over as well. I had a chapter 1 completed, but it just wasn't going to fly. The topic, they're like, you can't go anywhere with this topic. When you graduate, what are you going to do? That it can't just be that. And so I was so heartbroken. I remember walking out of the college, just crying. I wanted to give up. And I picked up the phone and called my Holmes scholar friend at North Carolina A&T. And she's like, you cry it out today, you get back on that computer tomorrow, and you figure it out. Because I was on the point, I can't do this no more. And that's why I say networking is so important, because I was able to call a Holmes scholar all the way in North Carolina. And she was the one that really got me through. And so that summer, I had to figure out a new dissertation and do the incomplete. I remember Dr. Filler, he told me he wanted the proposal by August 15th. And he really knows me. I took most of my classes in my master's program. So he knows my story of, personal experience of getting a divorce. I got a divorce at the beginning of my master's program. So I've known him for years. He knows about my son. He knows the challenges I experienced with Clark County School District. And I remember him telling me, you are so inspiring. I couldn't do this stuff you do, Matute. You're strong. I'm sorry. I remember just walking out and saying, I can do this. Sorry, I just need a minute.
That's okay. In the dissertation process, we've all been there on the fence. No problem.
So I knew I had to complete it, and I persisted, but I had a lot of support from not only my mentor committee, but other faculty. So therapy really helped me with all the stress that I went through, because that summer I had to prepare a new dissertation, hold this different dissertation topic, finish the research proposal for his class, and study for comps, all that I had to have completed by August. And I did it. I did not pass comps the first time. I passed comps for two of my for my chair and one of my committee members. And my other committee member wanted me to rewrite one question. And the question was on disproportionality of students of color. And I was like, why do I have to rewrite on this? This is like, I know all of this. And I knew all of it, but she said, I know your work and it could just be better. It's not that you failed. Because at first I was like, I failed. And my chair was like, you didn't fail. You need to have a talk with her. And she was no longer at UNLV. So she is at Florida International. So I had to Zoom with her, and she said, your response was great, but I know you can do better. And I want you to discuss X, Y, and Z. And so that made me feel better. But at the time I felt like a failure again. And so, just never think that you having to rewrite is, you're failing. And sometimes they just want you to do better because they know your capabilities. And so I remember a lot of peers in my office are like, did you pass comps? Did you pass comps? And I remember telling one of my peers that I was so close to, and I was just heartbroken, because it was like I think she thought I was just like failing because she knew about my two incompletes and my rewrite. And so I just continued to persist and work hard, and I knew I wanted to propose that fall. And so I proposed, but really therapy really helped me get through all that, and then the support from my networks and my mentor. All right, so mentorship. Mentorship was really key to my success. These are all the three areas: faculty, networks, and peers. Faculty, like I said, faculty in my department are amazing. I feel we have the best department in the College of Ed. They all have a robust area of research. I believe our department gets the most grants in the College of Ed. And so they're just so inspiring. And so I just wanted to really have a variety of mentors in my department. So I had a really great committee. And I also, still communicated with other faculty and admired their work. As a stock student, I really made sure that my mentor aligned with my lens and where I wanted to go. I really sought out a mentor of color. So my chair was Dr. Brown. She identifies as a Black female. And I felt that having her, I would be able to communicate more. She would be more responsive to my needs and responsive to my culture. And I'm not saying that white faculty member can't be responsive to my needs or my culture, because I had great mentors that were white as well in my department. But with Dr. Brown, I was just able to let my hair down more, be able to talk to her, be more real, kind of, just the struggles. And so I really had a really great mentorship with her, and I still talk to her almost on a daily basis. We share text messages and things like that. So we're still really well connected. Communication is important. Being able to communicate your thoughts. I really wanted a faculty member that kept it real with me, that would not sugarcoat things. And Dr. Brown does not sugarcoat things. And I remember some of my white peers are like, why did you pick her? She's so hard. She's so mean. But I knew to be prepared for a job out in academia that I didn't want anybody to just get me through. I wanted them to make sure that I was well prepared and not just like checking off the list. Because there are some faculty members that might not really challenge you. And I didn't want that. I wanted somebody that would really challenge me and make me work hard. Networking is super, super important. As a Holmes scholar, that really opened me up. Attending the pre-conference was life-changing. Just being in a room full of doc students and faculty of color, I just can't even describe the experience. So I'm really excited for you all. If you haven't been to a conference, when you attend, it's really life-changing. As a Holmes scholar, I attended the pre-conferences. I went to Washington Week. When I went, it was in person in DC. That was life-changing as well. So I really hope things get better with COVID so that you can all experience that. Holmes also provided a dissertation camp that I attended a year prior to my dissertation phase. That was really helpful. It was really inspiring to hear from other faculty. And I am so glad I had the opportunity to do that, because once I got to the dissertation phase, a lot of the tools that they spoke about really assisted me with getting through. Because I remember Dr. Alston had said, as you get to the dissertation and closer to the finish line, you'll see the folks closest to you won't really support you as well. And I saw that with some family and friends. It just made things a little bit more challenging. So it's just so important to network, because you can reach out to those faculty or doc students that you've created working relationships with. Conferences, it's so important to go to conferences in your discipline area as well. I attended several, as you heard. I attended at least 2 conferences a semester. I also had the opportunity to attend a conference internationally. I went to Cape Town, South Africa with Dr. Brown. We presented there. That was a great experience. It was totally different experience presenting internationally. I feel folks really highly attend those sessions more than the ones that are, held within the US. So I remember presenting there. I was nervous. That was my first presentation. That was a lecture. And it was highly attended, and it was at 4 p.m. and the room was full. And I recall presenting, at New Orleans at 4, and nobody was in the room. It was 2 participants. So if you have the opportunity to present internationally at an international conference, I highly suggest you try to get at least one experience. Also, join organizations in your field. I joined several, and then I also tried to take on leadership roles as well. As a Holmes scholar, I decided to support the social media coordinator one year. And so I supported her in her role, helped her develop notes and post things. And then the second year, I decided to run for a role on the Holmes Council board. And so I was social media coordinator for 1 year. And that really also helped me create more relationships when I was on the Home Council and learn more. So I would highly suggest you all run for the Holmes Council if you can, or just be on a committee, because that also helps. And that will also help grow your CV and give you experiences and meet other home scholars at different institutions as well. And then also the Writing Center, as I told you, I created a really good working relationship with one of the consultants at the Writing Center. I made appointments at least 2 to 3 times a week with him. So I saw him several times a semester. And then peers, it's really also important to have peers that you network with. in your department, college of ed, across campus, and then across institutions as well, because you can create writing groups. So I also was part of a writing group. I still am, which includes a lot of Holmes scholars. I think there's like 5 of us in the writing group, and we meet online via Zoom, and we are all across the US. So some of us are on Pacific Standard Time, East Coast. So we are literally have the Zoom link working 24 hours. So if you will get up at 3 o'clock and you want to write, someone's on it. And so that was really helpful because we do check-ins like every 2 hours and really keep each other motivated, to get our dissertation done. And so I recall when I was writing my dissertation the last month, I didn't go to sleep till 6 o'clock, and there was always someone on there writing with me. You can do it, Mo. You got this. Are you done with those edits? So it's really important to kind of create those networks, because when you get to the dissertation phase, it's really isolating. You're really by yourself. You have to do the work yourself. And I find myself, I like being surrounded with people or in a really comfortable space. And that was my space that I needed to be on Zoom with others that were in the same process as me. Also, developing a working relationship with peers can help with collaborating on presentations as well. You could present together at conferences, share a hotel room because it's pretty expensive to travel to conferences. So looking at that, sometimes I would share a room with 4 people or, only 2. Also, when you go on the job search, you can practice, role play your interviews. Also, talk about they might have a position at your home scholar friend at VCU, and they can tell you, oh, the dean, can tell you different things. So that really also helps. Or share their materials for applications, because you have to write a cover letter, a research statement, teaching philosophy. And so when I went into that process, I had no idea what some of the, what a research statement looks like. So I was able to get, guidance from peers that graduated before, or tips when they went on the job talk, different things. And then just have to have emotional support. I know when I had a bad day or something, I'd pick up the phone right when I left the building and called Priscilla. Oh my gosh, guess what happened? Just someone that can kind of lift you up. So when you get home, you don't have to bring that into the house, and you can get to your family and then, get back to work and kind of let that go. So it's just really important to have some type of emotional support where you can vent. And then again, as I discussed, writing groups was really important for me, and mentorship as well, to be able to write with others. Not only to write along with them and accountability, but also someone that I could, share my work with, another set of eyes. Like, what do you think? Do you think I need to develop this idea more, just to get a little bit of tips? Also, I highly recommend you all take on leadership roles at UNLV as well. So become like a president or secretary on a student organization board. It really helps with leadership. Also, being able to network with other doc students at UNLV. I had the opportunity, I served on a lot of organization leadership roles. I did student academic authors. If you are part of early child multilingual special education department, 2 doc students created student academic authors. And I think now William might be the president. So that might be something you want to get involved with, because it's a great organization and you really work on publications and presenting. So that's something you can get involved on, try to get on the board. It's something you could put on your CV, and it's really helpful organization. I also had the opportunity to be the editorial assistant for the Journal of Intervention in School and Clinic with Dr. Higgins and Dr. Boone. That was a very great experience. I was really privileged to be the editorial assistant for 2 years. It really helped me to see the behind scenes of the publication process. I now understand why, in classes, APA 7th edition It's so important to learn. It's really important to know APA. That should be your Bible. You should have one at your office, at home, everywhere. At least I have like 3 of them. Because in order to get published, you really need to know APA. I know my department's really strict on APA. I know other departments aren't, because I had a lot of friends in different departments in College of Ed, and they don't know APA. And I think it's a really disservice to you when you get to dissertation. You're really going to struggle because you really need to know APA. And then also to publish, you don't want to have to pay $1,000 for an editor because you don't know APA. And my friend had to do that recently because she just had no knowledge of APA. I helped her with what I could, but I have a really heavy workload, so I couldn't really edit her whole dissertation for APA. So that's something I really advise you to work on, is really, study APA and know it, because it will really help you with your academic writing and getting published, and really help you with your dissertation as well. All right, benefits and value of the program. So my program, Early Childhood Multilingual Special Education, they really prepared me for my position. I don't feel I walked in and didn't know how to do something. The program was really robust. I know how to build a CV. Not a CV, a syllabus, build a course, do research, write for publication, write for grants. We have a grant writing class, and that really helped me. In my first year, last year, I submitted for Emerging Scholars Grant. And I remember I struggle from imposter syndrome. I remember emailing Dr. Brown, can you look at it? And she's like, no, I can do it. I'm on my own. And I remember I worked really hard on it, and I only had 4 days to get it done because it was over the winter break and I had so much other things. And I applied for the $10,000 grant, because you can apply for $5,000 or $10,000. And the terms are, if you get the $10,000, you have to submit for an external grant within 2 years. And so I developed a research proposal and I wrote the grant, and I actually got the Emerging Scholars Grant. So that was a really great motivation. And I really thank, my program for preparing me and that grant writing class. And I remember Priscilla looked at it too, and she's like, it's good. And I said, yeah, Dr. Higgins really knew what she was talking about. And so now I'm preparing to write one for NSF next semester, and probably one for foundation. So that's really my goal. And if your department doesn't offer a grant writing class, Graduate College always offers grant writing classes. So, attend as much professional development as you can. Make it one of your priorities, because that's what really helps me. And even as an assistant professor now, New Mexico State has a teaching academy, which is really great, and they provide so much professional development, and I still attend them. And I'm going off a tangent. So the student academic authors, they are plugged in with the National Organization of Teaching Academic Authors. I believe Dr. Huerta is part of it. That is also another great tool. They always give tips on writing and different things like that as well. So benefits of the program, hands-on learning. So I really encourage you to work with faculty. I had the privilege of being a graduate assistant. I know not all doc students have the privilege because they might have children and the income is really low. So you might have to keep your job at the school district or wherever you work. But I highly recommend, if you're not on campus, that you still really try to network with faculty and see how you can work on projects or help them abstract articles, just to get your feet wet and to get that experience you might get as a research assistant or graduate assistant. Asking if you can guest lecture in one of their classes so that you can have those lines on your CV as well. Even though you're not a graduate assistant, you can still get that teaching experience. Also, research interests. The more you do work with faculty and reading, you're able to really align your research interests where you want to go. You don't want to be all over the place. So it's really important to try to get a research agenda early on in your program, really align it so that you are well-rounded when you finish your program. Funding is so important. Like I said, I went to a lot of conferences. They are expensive, so I highly encourage you to apply for every scholarship that you can, every fellowship. I remember my first year, I applied for every scholarship, and I was devastated because all of them were declined. Nope, like I didn't get any of them. But then my second year, I said, okay, well, how can I make these things better? And so I remember I went to the Writing Center, and I said I wanted to apply, and he gave me tools like, you should talk about this, that, and that helped me. And so I revised my statements, and I'm happy to say I secured a lot of scholarships. I got the UNLV summer scholarship that was $7,000. And I remember Dr. Brown saying, you can submit this, I'll write the letter, but I'm not sure if you'll get it because it goes to more students like in the dissertation phase. I got that my third year, and that helped me go to South Africa. So that's how I was able to fund South Africa, because South Africa was about $3,000. So that helped me go to those international conferences. And then I applied for all different types of scholarships. I mean, some of them are only 500, 1,000, 2,000, but it added up. I remember one year, I think I got like close to $10,000 in one year. And that went to conferences, just, buying things that I needed. So really, really take on all those opportunities. Never feel defeated when you get declined. Just always try to reflect, how can I make this better, and, resubmit. And then I also was able to be a HAMS Institute on Disabilities. Dr. Higgins recommended myself and another doc student, and I had to interview with the board, and they were really impressed with my CV. And I was awarded the fellowship, and it was $5,000. And so that helped me to my last year. And then as a Holmes scholar, I entered my first year. And so you're allowed to be a Holmes scholar for 3 years with funding. I was also a Holmes scholar GA. So we're the highest paid GA. It was like $2,500 more than the other GAs. I believe they took that away now. So you're just a Holmes scholar. You get funding, but I only got funding for 3 years. So when I entered my 4th year, Holmes scholars changed my whole life. So I said, I am going to this pre-conference. I don't care. I'm going to fund myself. And I was able to fund myself from those other scholarships I got from UNLV. And I submitted for the Holmes dissertation funding competition, and I was selected. And I remember, I have to win this. My friend won the previous year. And so she said, you got to go in there. You got it. You'll win. And so she told me, helped me with my PowerPoint. But then I scheduled a meeting with Dr. Brown, Dr. Jackson, and Priscilla. Dr. Jackson was a judge the previous year. So I wanted to get her insight on, what did she look for in the candidates. And so I remember going to the conference with Priscilla, Dr. Brown, and Dr. Jackson, and I presented. It was a mess when I presented my first time, and they gave me a lot of feedback. And so I took the feedback and re-outlined my presentation and practiced it a few times when we were in Atlanta in the hotel room. And I was so nervous going in, and I presented it at the conference, and I won. And then last year, Priscilla won. And I remember Priscilla said she was going to apply. I said, okay, well, you're going to get it. And her and I think for 2 weeks, right, Priscilla, we practiced every night. And I said, okay, I'm willing to share my tools with UNLV folks. Some other folks asked, can you share your materials? Nope. And so I shared my materials with Priscilla, and she outlined it. We outlined it just like how I did. We practiced every day, and she won. So we're undefeated. So one of you all need to win next year. Hopefully, I don't know if any of you are in dissertation, but yeah, so always feel free to reach out if you are going to submit, because I'm willing to share my materials and mentor you to do a good job on that competition, because that was $3,000. It really helped me with my dissertation. I did a systematic literature review, which is a lot of work, and I was able to fund and pay 2 doctoral students in my program to help me review articles to see if they met my criteria. And so that's a lot of work to ask a doctoral student. So I was able to pay them for their work, which was really rewarding to them. They didn't want me to pay them, but I did, and it was really rewarding to them to, get paid a decent amount of money to help me with that. Also, academic writing, really important to work on that. The only way you get better is to read and write. And then publications, really focus on working on publications in the doc program to make yourself competitive upon graduation. And then learning different methodologies. I'm quantitative, but now I'm trying to learn qualitative research. So really try to work with different faculty that might be qualitative researchers, quantitative, if you're looking more to be mixed methods, because now I'm looking at mixed methods. So I really need to learn how to code. So really take on those challenges as a doc student. All right, positioning yourself for academia. So what aspects of the PhD process positioned me for my academic position? As I said before, my program really prepared me. I didn't feel not prepared. I know some other assistant professors that came in with me really didn't have a lot of experience building courses and stuff, whereas I did. So that was really helpful. Really publishing, having the opportunity to publish. My chair, she always makes sure her students publish before they graduate. So that was my goal. And I didn't meet my goal of 3 publications, but I did meet my goal of having 2 publications. So that really helped me get my job. But I also had other things in the work in the process that I was able to get out last year. So I did have stuff in the pipeline. So it's just really helpful to be able to navigate that, as I said, time management, because if you don't have time management, you're not going to be able to publish and do all these different service requirements. Research, I wanted to do a pilot study, but I just didn't have the time. But I did assist with data collection on a grant project that Dr. Morgan had. So that was great to have like data collection experience in the field as well. Building a Cv S syllabus was also good for me to learn, because as a new assistant professor, you might have new preps, have to create a new course. So it's really important to have those skills. Teaching online, different formats like COVID now. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to teach online course, because everything right now is online for me. It's quite challenging because I like to teach in person. So I'm still learning through that process. And then also APA 7th edition, as I said before, really important to know APA. So that should be your Bible. And then also really learn journals in your field and interdisciplinary journals that you can submit to. Really important to look for journals you can submit to, what are their requirements, things like that. And then also, if you want to go into academia like I did, my department sends out job announcements when they come out. And as a first-year student, I looked at those job announcements to see, well, do I want to go to that institution? What are they requiring? So really important to look at what qualifications they are looking for, preferred qualifications, so you can really try to work on those skills now. A lot of jobs want you to have 3 years of teaching experience in K through 12. So if you don't have that, really try to make sure you get that if you want to go into academia. I didn't have K through 12 teaching experience, but I'm a licensed teacher birth through 8. So my teaching experience, I'm a licensed teacher, but my experience was with early childhood setting. So that still counted, but I was disqualified for some jobs that really wanted me to have experience in the classroom. So just be mindful of that if you're from early childhood background, etc., because that disqualified me. But I do have teaching experience, but some specifically want you to have experience in the classroom. Preparing for academia. So these were the 3 categories that really helped me prepare: mentor, network, and peers. As I said, again, my mentor really prepared me to be ready for the academy with her advising, helping me get published, teaching. and just responsive to all my needs. Networking is really important as well at conferences. As Dr. James said, when you go to Holmes Scholar pre-conference, a lot of the faculty are at a variety of institutions. A lot of Holmes Scholars alumni are deans as well. And so a lot of them look to hire Holmes Scholars. One of my friends just got hired at VCU, and the dean there is a Holmes Scholar alum. So it's really important to network with them. I just recently, one of the Holmes Scholar alum, she is a faculty member at Bowen University, HBCU, and she messaged me on Facebook and said, Dr. Matute, I'm so excited to see you're in the academy. Please submit to this SIG. I'm the chair. And so, you have all these opportunities. They really want to see you be successful, even though they might not be you might have not been their student, but they really want to stay connected with you and really push you. So it's really important to collaborate and really network with other faculty and doc students, because when you go on the job market, they might be on that search committee, or they might know faculty in that department, and it really helps you give an insight of what the department's like, the institution. So really utilize all those opportunities that you have. Also get involved in organizations in your field as well. That's important as well to network. And then also, like I said, the Writing Center. I just love the Writing Center. And then peers, also writing and doing presentations. I've presented with some Holmes Scholars at different institutions, and we still are connected. So it's really important to do that. It provides you with other opportunities, different collaborations. You never know, you might be able to submit a grant together later. Just having emotional support, helping you on the job market, because that's another beast that you have to go through during your dissertation process. It's really stressful. So just being able to have emotional support from peers that might be going through the same process as you. Also take on leadership roles in your organizations within your discipline, and also the Holmes Scholars program if you can. Balancing life. So support system is huge. When you go into the program, I really relied on a support system from peers, faculty, and family. As I said, I'm a first generation student. My parents are immigrants, and so they really do not understand. They didn't understand the doc process, and my mom really doesn't even understand my position now. She doesn't understand why I'm always at my desk 7 days a week, why I work 7 days a week. So it's really important. So I looked at my peers as support, like emotional support, being able to talk to, collaborate with. Faculty, I got support from mentorship, advising. And then family, my family is support with my son, because I'm a single mother. So they really assisted me. Moving here, it was hard because I have no friends, no family. And during COVID, and the transition was hard because my son also has a disability. He's on the autism spectrum. So last year was quite challenging, trying to figure out with no support in a new city, new state, no friends, nothing. But my parents are moving here now. They just sold their house in Vegas in one day, and they'll be here in 3 weeks. So now I'll have more support, which is great. I finally found my routine here. And so now with that added support, I'm excited to see what I can accomplish this year, even more than what I accomplished last year. So really rely on that support system, and know that not all your family and friends will understand your process, because they don't understand academia. So you really need to rely on, faculty and peers that are in your area. Self-care is important. Diet, exercise, and like I said, therapy. Even though folks think it's taboo, it's really important. If you are not taking care of yourself, you won't be successful. So that's something I had to learn. So if you don't like to exercise, well, if you like to dance, we'll dance for 30 minutes. Do something that you can use as to decompress, journal, write self-affirmations, something for yourself. I still struggle with self-care. I just started working out again because I gained weight trying to finish the dissertation, and then last year with the transition. But now I'm finding myself again. So I'm back on my exercise routine and diet. It's really, really important. It helps with your sleep. So really try to create a self-care balance. It's super important. All right, lessons learned. So if you know me, I am very nice, naive. I like to help everyone. So one thing to learn is to say no. That was really hard for me until my last year in the process, because I remember Dr. Brown saying, you can't be doing all these service obligations, being on, the organization boards. And so at that point, I started to learn how to say no. It's really important because you don't want to take on too many projects because you're going to be stressed, no sleep, or you might not meet the deadlines, and you don't want people to think that you're not a good peer or colleague and you can't finish your deadlines. So really learn to say no and only take on what you can do. Do not take on projects that will not serve you. So if it's not in your research area or it doesn't align with your research agenda, say no, because it's going to look very odd for you to take on things that, are not in your area. So you want to make sure you are create a CV that's robust, but that it aligns with your research area. Collaborative projects are great. Make sure that you are aware of who you collaborate with, that you can trust. You can trust sharing your research ideas. You can trust sharing your work. I only trust 2 people that I can send manuscripts to or work when I was in the doc program that I could trust, because some people will steal your work and that you work hard for. So just really be mindful. When you do collaborative projects as well, it's really important to be upfront and set who's going to be first author, second author. Try to make sure you get that in email and some sort of writing. So if you do have issues, that you set those standards at the beginning. And then self-advocacy, really learn how to self-advocate for yourself. That's really important. You don't want people to take advantage of you, and you want to really be able to advocate for what you need or what supports. And then words of wisdom. And I wanted to answer, how do Holmes scholars support my process? So words of wisdom, really be persistent. I remember if you take a class with Dr. Higgins and you get to grant writing, she will say, you don't get a Ph.D. because you're smart. You get a Ph.D. because you work hard. And it's really true. If you want that Ph.D., you have to work hard. You need to be persistent, and people that get across that finish line are resilient. Because once you get to that dissertation phase, it's really isolating. And I now know why people are ABD, because when I went in my first year and they're saying ABD and share the statistics, I remember saying, how can someone get through the program and just stay ABD and never finish? But once I got to that dissertation process, I realized, wow, I now know why people are ABD, because it is not easy. So, and once you cross over and get your PhD into a tenure track, also, I remember Dr. Brown, my mentor, telling me, the doc program, this is the fun part. And it truly is, it's the fun part. So take in the experience and really enjoy it. Because I'm not saying the tenure track isn't fun, but it's just a different experience. So really take in your entire experience, enjoy everything, try to increase your knowledge, and just be persistent, because that's what's going to get you through. And then self-care, again, is really important. If you don't take care of yourself, you will really struggle. And then be resilient. The folks that cross the line are resilient. So just stay strong and utilize all the resources and supports that you have. You're not alone. So just be mindful of that. And the Holmes program really helped me in this process. My mentor and the department, but also the Holmes program, because I learned so much from the pre-conference, attending all those workshops on, job talks, research proposals, collaborating. It was just a really great experience. And then final thought, I got this quote from Dr. Brown. I remember she shared it at a panel we were on, and it always stuck with me since then. It's by Bob Marley. Some people feel the rain, others just get wet. And as you're going through this doc program, it shouldn't be like a checkoff box. Okay, I took this class, check, check, check. I'm almost done, check, check, check. Some of my friends did that. Their goal was just to get through the program super fast, 3 years. And when you do that, it's a truly disservice, because some of them that did that, they really struggled when they got to the dissertation process, because they did not gain the skills from the class. They really didn't learn. They just rushed through it, submitted this proposal, and they just wanted an A. So they did whatever they wanted to get an A, but they really didn't understand the content because they went to this friend that took the class the year before. And so because maybe you get a B on your research proposal, don't be defeated, because you might have learned more than the person that got that A. And it will really show when you get to the dissertation, because your chair can't write your dissertation for you. You have to really be able to develop your question. And the only way you're going to be able to do all that is if you are really taking in everything you are learning in your classes. So really make sure that you take in everything, you enjoy the process instead of rushing, because it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So really, I really advise you to do that, because when you get to the dissertation process, you're really going to struggle. Any questions? And then if you want to contact me, that's my email. I am part of the NASA, the National Association for Holmes Alumni. I'm on the mentoring committee. We really haven't met. I don't know if it's because of COVID, but I'm always willing to mentor students. I still keep in touch with a lot of Holmes scholars that were after me that just came off the job market. So if you need anything, you could always feel free to reach me.
Thank you for your presentation. I really appreciated all the suggestions and advice that you were giving. So my question is around, I guess what I've noticed, I'm in my second and a half year in the doctoral program, and I've noticed that I see that you moved to another state, and I don't know how open I am yet about, pursuing, I know that I would like to be in academia, but I'm not sure if I really want to move. And from what I've noticed is that a lot of times professors are usually in their roles for years before they move on. So what are your thoughts about that, and advice or suggestions about if you do decide to go into academia, relocating?
I feel everybody has their own idea. I knew I wanted to go into academia. I wanted to move. I wanted to leave Las Vegas. I really wanted to be in the DMV or North Carolina. I was set on North Carolina. And I remember Dr. Brown saying, "Do you know how they treat women in North Carolina?" And I was like, I have to go to North Carolina. That was my goal. I wanted to go be an assistant professor at North Carolina A&T or somewhere in the DMV. So I applied everywhere, because if you really restrict yourself, then you're more limited, and the market is really competitive. So I applied everywhere. And another thing I failed to mention is to really know if you want to go to R1, R2, or R3. I knew I didn't want to go to a teaching institution, because I didn't want to have to teach 4 classes a semester or 3. New Mexico State is a R2. However, they have initiatives right now to become R1 by 2025. So the pressure here feels like I'm at R1, because they want you to submit for grants. The publishing requirements are 2 to 3 a year. So it's almost like a R1. So my goal was to go to R1 or R2. And I applied to New Mexico when the job announcement came out, because I was really strategic when I looked at job announcements. So that's why I advise you, if your department sends them out, that's great. If not, you can go on yourself at Chronicle or higher ed jobs to see what people want. And I remember when New Mexico State released it, they were very social justice, equity lens. And so that intrigued me. So then I went and looked at the department, and I saw their classes were aligned with a social justice lens, equity. So I was intrigued. So I applied, because I didn't really want to stay close to Vegas. So I applied to New Mexico in a variety of places. And I had about probably 5 Zoom interviews, and I had 2 on-campus interviews. And like I said, I wanted to go to North Carolina. I came here for my first job interview, and it felt like home. And I remember peers in my department said, when you go, you'll just know. And I was like, wow, I think I understand what they said. It just felt great. My job talk, everything. And actually, Dr. Brown was an assistant professor here, so she knew some people in other departments. So I got to meet one of her friends here, and it was really nice too to see somebody, that she knew. And then when I went on my second job interview, it was close to Vegas as well. And I wanted to leave. I remember I called Dr. Brown. I said, can I come home? She said, no, you have to finish, just because the experience was totally different. So I know I'm going around your question, but I feel like you need to be open and prepared to move. I was, and, my heart was set on North Carolina or DMV, but when I came here, I loved it. It's still the Southwest, it's desert, but it's not like Vegas. The weather is different here, and it's more green. So I still feel like I have that green that I wanted in North Carolina. And I love it here. I was able to buy a house. Cost of living is a lot cheaper. So I was really set here. And what's funny is when I accepted the job here, a week later, North Carolina A&T called me for an interview. So I was like, wow, isn't that, it's something. So you have to be willing to move. I know I'm not going to move. So my goal is to make tenure. A lot of folks say you really don't stay at your first institution you go to, you usually move. But I really like it here. I bought a house and I have a son that, has issues with transitions. So my goal is to stay here long term as long as I, make tenure, that's my goal. So I feel you should really keep your options open. And another thing that helped was going to conferences. You go to different cities and states. So when you go there, you can kind of say, like, do you think I can live here? And that's what I did when I went to Atlanta, Baltimore, different locations. I said, oh, no, I can't live here. I remember when I went to San Antonio, I said, I can't live here. I know. So that's off my list if jobs come. So just being able to open and attending those conferences will help.
Thank you so very much for joining me today. I was just reminding attendees that these presentations will be posted on the UNLV Holmes Scholars website, because there are students who have signed up to be here today who are not here, so that everyone will have access. Dr. Matute really emphasize some key points that I'll talk about throughout the year. But one thing I wanted to remind you, in terms of how the Holmes Scholars Program is shaped now through the future, you do have financial support for a conference of your choice beyond the Holmes Scholars Conference. And so we'll talk about that. That's why I said at the very beginning, I'd like you to think about your career path and what your goals are in those areas that I gave you, because I want to know specific. I want things to be specific. When you have a specific goal, it's attainable. When it's not specific, you go in many different directions, and that's something we want to prevent from happening. And one thing that she really emphasized was feedback. We talked about how these routines that you establish now transition you into academia. Your whole career in academia is built on feedback. Mm-hmm. Some of the toughest reviewers I've had produced my best work. And I would not have produced that without the challenge that they provided. And so when you're looking for mentors, she mentioned, looking for people that challenge you, that challenge deep thinking, comprehensive understanding, not just someone who's going to, say that you're doing well. Maybe someone who says, I don't understand this. Can you, is there another way to look at this? What are you leaving out? What is it that we don't know about this particular area? I think that's very, very important. And then again, the question you had, Camila, about moving. My department head told me when I left Texas A&M, which is where I started in the bilingual education program there, that's how you establish your career. Careers are built on being flexible enough to move into different places. That's where I started. I was then at University of Denver in the Child Family School Psychology program there, and now I'm here. So, you know, you have to be really know what you want, and at the same time be very flexible, because as you progress in the tenure and promotion process, those associate positions, those full professor positions become even the most competitive because there are fewer of them out there. So just always keep that in mind, and we'll talk more about building a career trajectory. I'm looking at our time. Gosh, that was wonderful. I was just really immersed there. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Dr. Matute, I'll follow up with an email with you because I, just had some ideas for you. But thank you so much. She was supposed to fly in, and then we made this transition this week to meet remotely, so she wasn't able to fly in as she had planned to. But thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for all the information that you have given to us. I have a whole bullet point page here of things that can gave me some ideas for our meetings across the year. So thank you so much for joining us.